Android is amazing because it gives pretty much anyone the chance to publish a game and make it available for everyone to download. But because of that, the Play Store ends up getting absolutely flooded with new games every single day. And of course, a lot of great games end up getting overlooked and forgotten. That's exactly what we're talking about today, the most underrated games on the Play Store. So make sure to drop a like and let's get started. This is a really hidden game on the Play Store, and some people even say it used to be a Java game. Let's talk about Zombie Crisis. Surprisingly, the game is completely offline and works like a story mode. You play as a character who is just coming home when suddenly a zombie outbreak starts. The problem is that your wife and daughter are trapped inside a supermarket, and your goal is to go there and rescue them. From the very beginning, as soon as you leave your apartment, there are already zombies to fight. You go through different areas full of enemies, and you can even drive vehicles, which makes it feel a bit different compared to other games like this. There are several different gameplay moments, but the main focus is clearly on trying to save your family. I know fighting games on the Play Store can be a real mess. You even have big names like Mortal Kombat, but nothing really comes close to the original experience. Let's talk about one of the best ones called VITA Fighters. This game is for anyone who enjoys a more classic fighting game style. That's because it doesn't have any auto mechanics and it's not an RPG pretending to be a fighting game. The idea is very simple and familiar. You pick your character and jump into fights against other characters. But you actually need to press the buttons and learn the moves properly, like a real fighting game should be. Another thing VITA Fighters does well is featuring characters that clearly take inspiration from popular figures in pop culture. Imagine a survival game, but with giant mechs you can use to take down a bunch of monsters. Let's talk about TITANITE. The game probably starts like a typical survival experience. You have an open world to explore and need to gather resources like stone and wood, but this time, instead of zombies, you're dealing with all kinds of strange monsters, even though the core idea is still similar. What really stands out though is the futuristic setting and the presence of massive mechs in combat. But even beyond that, it's a pretty complete game. It could easily be a shooter or even a full survival experience. I'm pretty sure this game has the potential to become popular, it just needs time. This game is incredible and only has around 5,000 downloads on the Play Store. Let's talk about a sandbox game called the SANDBOX next. Like many games in this style, the main focus is exploration across different types of game modes, but unlike Roblox for example, this one is much more focused on FPS style experiences, so you do have a variety of different gameplay modes inside it, but the most popular ones right now are the FPS matches where players fight against each other, and it's not really a surprise. The third person view and slightly slower paced gameplay actually make the experience feel really good. And of course, if you ever get bored of that, you can always jump into the many other game modes available inside the game. The Fall is a survival game that at some point got a lot of attention on the Play Store, but that's not what we're focusing on right now. What's cool about this game is that it throws you straight into the action. You don't really understand where you are at first, you just start right in the middle of a zombie apocalypse and need to find a way to survive. The game actually picks up right where the first one left off, so you can even start there if you want. Even though it's a survival game where you fight zombies, it's actually very linear with a clear story and path to follow. What I like most about it is how hard it can be to kill zombies. Most of the time your weapons run out of ammo and you have to find another way to deal with them. I know this game got so popular that it even ended up getting a movie adaptation, and a lot of people don't even know it has a mobile port. Let's talk about the Exit 8. The game takes place in just one setting, a subway station. You play as a character stuck in a loop where every time you try to move forward, you end up back in the same place. The idea is to keep repeating this path while paying attention to anomalies. If you pass through the same area 20 times, a painting might change position. After 40 loops, a door might suddenly appear. Little by little, you start collecting clues to understand who trapped you there and what is really going on. Seriously, it's totally worth playing. This game is a true masterpiece. In this game, you have to help a Viking village survive in a completely different land. Let's talk about the bonfire to live. The game starts with only 4 characters. They even have their own small backstories, but since it's a survival game, each run ends up feeling unique. The idea is to assign them tasks based on what they're good at, and you also need to be careful during the night. That's because every night wolves show up trying to attack your people. As time goes on, more survivors appear and eventually join your tribe, and of course things keep getting more complicated over time, but that's exactly the charm of the game. Simply one of the best online games on the Play Store, and even though it has a small player base, it's still totally worth it. Let's talk about T3 Arena. It's probably the closest thing to an Overwatch mobile or even a Valorant style experience. It's a 5 versus 5 shooter, and the characters feel very similar to Overwatch heroes, which is something a lot of players noticed right away. It has standard game modes like deathmatch and even the payload mode where you push a cart. The characters are also split into roles like attackers, healers, and tanks. The game had a pretty strong launch, even featuring official tournaments. Right now it's a bit less popular, but it still has a very loyal community. If you've never played it, it's definitely worth trying. When it comes to online tactical RPGs, there's honestly no game that really beats QQE. Even though it's not that famous, it's still worth talking about it. This is Sword of CONVALLARIA. The game combines pixel art graphics with modern 3D effects, creating a visual style that immediately stands out from the first minutes. Even though it's a gacha game, it still has a solid story worth following. The story isn't even focused only on your character, it's more about a city and how you try to keep it at peace. There are different races, conflicts, and even multiple endings depending on your choices. And of course, there's also the online side of the game, with a lot of gacha elements to unlock different characters and compete with your friends. This is also a 2D game, but you can definitely say it has a pretty unique mechanic. Let's talk about Shadow Trick. The game is super simple. You move from left to right until you reach the end of the screen. There aren't many objectives. You just can't die, but it has one main mechanic, which is playing in the dark. It's a bit hard to explain just by talking, but you probably get the idea when you see it in action. There are moments where you need to enter the darkness to solve puzzles and then come back to the main area. That's what makes this 2D game feel so different and unique. We still haven't talked about a Diablo-style RPG, and this one has been getting a lot of attention recently. Let's talk about SHADOWBORN. What really caught my attention and made me include this game in the video are the classes. They're very different and unique. For example, you can build an archer necromancer or even a warrior healer. Honestly, the possibilities feel almost endless. And of course, there's also the gameplay, which is very smooth and really engaging. You can easily spend hours just fighting NPCs in this game. It really captures that Diablo-like feeling, but in a more offline style with almost endless progression. Perfect for playing for a long time. In the reverse, 1999 is a turn-based strategy RPG that became popular for doing things differently from most gacha games, so let's talk about it. The game focuses much more on its story and its unique characters instead of just collecting a huge roster like many other RPGs. The combat happens in turns using a card system. Each character has abilities represented as cards, and you can combine them to create stronger versions of attacks and spells. This makes battles feel more strategic than your typical turn-based RPG. The story starts on the last day of 1999 when a mysterious phenomenon called the Storm causes time to rewind to earlier eras. Now you end up with different characters from different time periods trying to figure out what's really going on. If you like roguelike games but don't really know which one to play, I've got a perfect one for you. Let's talk about OTHEWORLD Legends. And this game doesn't really focus on story, it's more of a pure roguelike experience. The idea is to enter different areas, fight monsters, upgrade your character as much as possible, and of course try not to die in the process. What really stands out here is the gameplay. You start with a red-haired character who already has a really solid combat system, but the other characters you unlock are even better. That's one of the strongest points of the game, and there are a lot of cool characters to unlock, and it even has a co-op mode so you can play with other people. If you like story-driven games to actually finish, this is one you might be looking for. Let's talk about 9 Nights. I tried this game and almost lost it because it's genuinely very hard. It was released in 2023, and even though it has that older style look, that's exactly how it was designed to be. You play as an assassin who is being hunted by his own company. You'll face a lot of bosses that used to be your friends, and of course you also have to take down the big villains who were your bosses. The game has mechanics that feel a lot like older 2000s games, and it can be just as difficult, but it's worth playing through, especially since it's fully offline. Simply one of the most famous beat-em-ups in the world. Let's talk about a hidden game on the Play Store called Night Slashes. This game is quite old, just like Streets of Rage for example. It was was originally released back in the 2000s, and like many classics that are getting remade nowadays, this one is also a remake of the older version, but as you can see, it has been completely changed and basically remastered almost like a brand new game. Still, since it's a beat 'em up, the core gameplay hasn't changed much. You keep moving to the right and defeating every type of enemy that shows up. One thing that makes it a bit different is that you also fight a lot of monsters along the way. Even though it feels pretty simple, it's still worth trying out, I admit. If you're older, you probably played Metal Slug at some point and wondered where that series went. Well, let's talk about Metal Slug Awakening, Akuda. The idea of the game is still the same. You pick your character and keep moving to the right while taking down enemies. But this time they added a lot of online features like weapon progression and more playable characters, since before there were only a few. What really stands out is the online mode, where you can even play with up to 2 players. It still keeps that old school feeling, but with a modern touch. Even though some people don't like the changes, it's still a solid Metal Slug experience. I'm pretty sure this game was made by just one person, so you could probably call it an indie. Let's talk about a 2D game called Magic Sword Adventure. This game is basically lost on the Play Store with fewer than 500 downloads, and it's completely free, and there's not much to say about it. You collect diamonds to upgrade your character and try to defeat the final boss. It probably has around 20 stages or so, but the reason I included it here is because it's actually really well made. From the combat to the way your character progresses, you can tell the developer really put effort into it. If you know what a LAN house is, you were probably happy back then, and if you don't know, it's basically a place where you go to use computers and pay for it. Let's talk about Internet Cafe Simulator. The idea of the game is simple. You get a house and a piece of land, and the main goal is to build your own internet cafe. The cool part is that you start from zero, cleaning the place or even buying your first computers. You need to manage money, buy new computer parts, check which setups can actually run games, and eventually hire employees when you can. And of course, try to grow your small cafe into a big and successful internet shop. I'm honestly surprised Frag Pro Shooter isn't more popular on the Play Store, because this game is simply brilliant. Let's talk about it. In theory, it's pretty similar to T3 Arena, since it's a third-person shooter where you have to defeat enemies. But this game goes way beyond that. With more than 100 characters available, the main objective is usually to shoot targets and eliminate opponents. It can be a bit confusing at first because it looks like a 5 versus 5 game, but in reality it's actually 1 versus 1. You can switch characters at any time and build your own dream team. The game is very well made and really delivers an experience that feels quite unique. I really think this is a genius game. It's fast, easy to jump into, and it doesn't feel pay to win at all. Let's talk about Faces. The idea is very simple. It's a 1v1 game where you can match with random players or invite a friend for a duel. Both characters have the same weapon and start on the same side of the map, so there's no excuse if you get shot. Recently, the game updated to 2 versus 2, which honestly made it even better. It's one of those games that are so simple but so well made that it's actually hard to explain much more about it. Just install it on your phone and play it, because it's genuinely brilliant. Another type of game that almost nobody knows exists on Android, let's talk about Death Door. You control a small crow who works as a soul collector. Your job is simple: find giant souls and take them to the afterlife. The problem starts when one of these souls gets stolen, forcing you to go on a dangerous journey to recover it. I think you could say the game is a mix between RPG and hack and slash. The combat is really good, even though it's played from an isometric view. It also mixes exploration, puzzles, and real-time combat. This is the kind of game that's worth picking up and finishing in one sitting. I think tactical RPGs fit really well on Android because of how they play, and I find it really interesting. Let's talk about Crawl Tactics. In the game, you control a group of mercenaries in turn-based battles where positioning is everything. Terrain height, character direction, weather, traps, and obstacles can completely decide a fight. The game clearly takes a lot of inspiration from Final Fantasy, which is basically the father of this style of gameplay, but one of its biggest differences is the environment itself. You can push enemies off the battlefield, for example, or set grass on fire to deal more damage, among many other interactions. And of course, there's also its gameplay mode, which is very addictive. Imagine a game where you have to rebuild your house. I know it sounds a bit silly when you say it like that, but I believe this can be really addictive. Let's talk about Cozy Islands. The The last time I played this game, it was still in beta, so a lot of things probably changed, but the idea is still the same. You choose your character and slowly start building your house little by little, while also getting help from the villagers. The idea of the game is to gather stone and wood so you can craft other things and gradually build your house step by step. Just this process already takes a lot of time. Honestly, I don't even know what happens after you fully finish the house, but I'm sure you're going to spend a lot of time playing this one. This one arrived on Android just this month, and right now it has only around 500 downloads. Let's talk about an offline game called BONFIRE. BONFIRE is a 3D action platformer with Metroidvania elements that takes place in the fallen kingdom of Penumbra. The biggest highlight here is the movement system, which feels incredibly smooth. In a way, it almost feels like a fully 3D Metroidvania, something we don't get to see very often. The combat is fairly simple, but still a lot of fun. You'll use swords, upgrades, and special abilities to take down monsters and powerful bosses scattered throughout the world. It doesn't really reinvent the genre, but it delivers exactly what many players have been missing on the Play Store, a solid offline adventure game. For some reason though, it never really got the attention it deserved. This is a brand new game that was released recently. You could probably call it an MMORPG, or maybe even more of an action RPG. Let's talk about Ares, the Iron Vanguard. One of the biggest reasons this game has been getting so much attention is its visuals. Graphically, it looks absolutely incredible, but the graphics aren't the only thing it has going for it. The game features unique character classes that feel very different from the usual ones, along with a massive futuristic open world that's fully explorable. Of course, the gameplay is another major highlight. Every character can feel completely different depending on the weapon you're using, which keeps combat fresh and exciting. On top of that, there are plenty of mechanics that can completely change the way you play, including the ability to take control of a giant mech. Honestly, Ares is a really interesting game and definitely worth checking out. And that's it for today's video. These are some of the most underrated and interesting games you can find on mobile right now. If you enjoyed the list, make sure to leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video. See you next time.